Hi everyone, my name is Scott Holbrook and I am a commercial banker with Regions Bank in Dallas. What I want to do today is spend a little bit of time talking about how I got to where I am as a banker. So my goal is to talk a little bit about college, classes, internships, my initial job searches, and then a little bit more advice that I have. So I hope you find it helpful. To give you a little bit of background on me, I graduated from high school in 2008 and college in 2012. Now, I don't consider that to be that long ago, but you may disagree with that. I'm originally from the Northeast, and I went to both high school and college up there. And during high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do one day. For many, many years, I dreamed of being a star baseball player, and my athletic abilities lived nowhere near that potential, so I had to be a little more realistic. So when I got to high school, there was times where I wanted to do astronomy or physics. And then I was interested in history and politics. And then when I was in my junior year of high school, I started to get interested in the stock market. So I decided that business might be the career I wanted to pursue. So once I narrowed that focus, I decided to look for colleges that had undergraduate business programs. I consulted with different lists. There's lots of websites and magazines and newspapers out there that talk about the best programs. And I also used my high school's career and college counseling group. And I also knew that I didn't want to be too far away from where I grew up, so I narrowed my focus to the East Coast and mostly the Northeast. So I was lucky to get into a school only about a half an hour away from where I grew up, so that's where I chose to go. Now within my college that I chose, there were several different schools. So I was accepted into the undergraduate business program, but it was really the best of both worlds. I was able to take introductory business courses like finance, economics, accounting, business ethics, law, all these different classes. And I figured out what things were of interest to me. And then once I figured out what I was interested in, I was able to pick a concentration. So I decided to pick finance and economics. I still had some interest in the stock market, but as I'll get to later, I had done some internships and realized other areas that might be of interest to me as well. So once I picked those upper level courses, I took classes on the banking system, on public and private economics, and I even took a class on environmental economics. But I also had a chance to get that well-rounded education, and that was important to me. I took classes on the ancient Aztec, Inca, and Maya. I took lots of music history classes, like the history of Irish folk music and the history of rhythm and blues in America. I also had a chance to do some broadcasting, and while I was at school, I was one of our broadcasters doing play-by-play for baseball on the radio for our college baseball team. I also mentioned a bit ago that I had some internships which helped shape my focus when it came to figuring out what I wanted to concentrate or major in college. So I applied for various internships during my collegiate years. I spent one summer at a wealth management firm. I spent a couple summers at a mutual fund company, and I spent one summer doing investment banking in New York City. Now, these were not necessary, but I found them to be very valuable and very helpful because they taught me how to really operate in a corporate setting. It showed me different areas of business and different types of businesses that I could potentially work with one day. It showed me things that I enjoyed doing, but some of the most important things was it actually showed me what I didn't enjoy or didn't want to do one day. I'm so grateful to all the people that gave me opportunities to try things out, and at the end of the day I was able to find or narrow my focus into different types of careers based on the experiences that I had. So once I finished college, it was time to look for a job. I reached out to different contacts from growing up. I asked people for introductions to companies that I knew of or liked or was familiar with. I looked at job boards. I went to my college's career center and I took different types of tests. I had help with resume building, and I reached out to some of those people that I worked with during my internship years as well. Ultimately, I ended up in a commercial banking role in New York City. I became a small business lender, and I went through a credit and sales training program. Now, from the very beginning, I knew that a credit or at least some sort of training program was going to be something of interest to me. I thought it was important to be trained in the way that the company I was going to work for, because my goal was to work for that company for a long time. So I wanted to see how they wanted me to be trained. I also knew that it would give me a wide range of experiences, but also access to many people around the company to network with, to meet, to learn about the different groups, and become the most well-rounded banker that I could become. So I ended up living and working in New York City for 8 years and spent that time traveling around the city, meeting with small business owners and other professionals, and using those skills that I developed in college, through my internships, and then during my training program. Earlier this summer, I relocated to the Dallas area, and I'm working for Regions now. So if you know what you want to do for a living now, that's awesome, but it's not necessary at all. As I said at the beginning, I went from sports to science to history to politics to business. And within business, I went from wealth management to mutual funds to investment banking to small business lending to commercial banking. So your career is not going to be a straight line, most likely. It's going to be a windy path, but that can be so, so exciting. Before I finish, I want to list off a few things that I have as little bits of advice or recommendations. The first, never stop asking questions. It's said that you learn more by listening than by talking. So ask people to hear their experiences. Ask about their career paths, how different avenues took them to where they are today. Ask them about their ambitions, their motivations, their goals, and ask them for advice. Shadowing people in their daily roles and listening to their experiences taught me so many things, including good habits, but also things to avoid. The second thing, read. I know this has been something that's been hammered home since we began reading long ago, but never stop reading. Read books, read the newspaper, read magazines, read articles online, read something that's of interest to you. Now, you don't have to become a Jeopardy champion. I mean, for example, I read probably from 3rd to 6th grade, nothing but baseball biographies in the sports section. But always try to keep learning. The third, don't be afraid to fail. Now, this doesn't mean be reckless, but take chances, try new things, and don't be afraid to not succeed every time. History has many, many famous stories of failure. Recently, you can think about Michael Jordan not making his high school basketball team, or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of college and building the largest companies in the world. And fourth, do right by others. Respect others. The golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. In the business world, this absolutely applies. We do right by our customers. We treat everyone with respect, with fairness, and with equity. And we try to do the best job we can to make the communities in which we operate the best they can possibly be. Now, hopefully, you will be able to take away a few things from my story today. And remember, if you don't know what you want to do right now, that's absolutely okay. Who knows? The job that you may choose one day may not even be created yet. Thanks so much.